3 days before Christmas, the story opens with a group of 4 people: Maisie, Doug, Grant, and their leader, Jude. They arrive at a house, and the moment the door opens, one of them pokes the homeowner in the neck. After that, they force their way inside and capture the man's wife. They pin her down on the table, and Jude brutally stabs her in the stomach until she dies. Then Maisie uses the woman's blood to draw a strange symbol on the glass, and this is the sacrifice game. After that, the story shifts to a girl named Clara, who has just woken up. Outside her window, she notices another girl, Samantha, doing her morning exercise in the courtyard of the dorm. Samantha briefly looks back at Clara, then goes right back to what she was doing. It turns out that both Clara and Samantha are students at an all-girls school called Blackvale. Not long after that, we see a teacher named Rose giving a lesson about a massive fire that happened in the past, a fire people believed was started by a witch. While Rose is explaining the story, Samantha glances at the scar on Clara's arm, as if it catches her attention. A moment later, Rose asks Samantha what she thinks about the existence of witches. Samantha is a little caught off guard, but she explains that she does not believe in witches themselves. What she does believe in is the idea of a scapegoat, someone people choose to blame. In her view, whenever something terrible happens, people feel the need to point the finger at someone, so they make up stories and put the blame on a witch. Then during break time, Samantha tries to get closer to Clara, but just as she approaches her table, a few troublemaking girls cut in and take over the moment. These girls place some newspaper clippings on the table, clippings that talk about a string of murders committed by someone the media has started calling the Christmas Killer, who has already been linked to 3 recent murder cases. One of the girls explains that the killer always follows the same pattern. The victims are usually religious couples, and after slaughtering them, the killer leaves behind a symbol that looks like the start of some kind of ritual. Samantha becomes curious and asks about the symbol in the newspaper photo. The girl says it might be connected to a cult or some kind of devil-worshipping group. At the same time, the girls are clearly excited because that day they're all going back home for the Christmas holiday. They start mocking Clara, calling her strange and mysterious, since every winter, while everyone else returns to their families, Clara always stays behind at the school and is never seen with any relatives. That comment clearly gets under Clara's skin. She becomes upset, but instead of arguing, she chooses to walk away. A moment later, the conversation is interrupted when the headmistress arrives and takes the newspaper clippings from them. She tells the girls not to read material like that. Then she asks where they got the clippings in the first place. One of the students admits that they came from Rose's boyfriend. Because of that, the headmistress tells Rose that she needs to have a talk with him. After finishing her class, Rose goes to confront her boyfriend Jimmy, who works as the dorm's cook. She brings up the newspaper clippings that got her in trouble with the headmistress. Jimmy brushes it off, claiming the troublemaking students took the newspaper from him. Later that afternoon, Samantha is packing her things, getting ready to go home for the holidays. But then she is called by the headmistress and learns that her father will not be able to take her home for Christmas this year. Feeling disappointed, she heads to the restroom to calm herself down. But when she gets there, she is shocked to find Clara hoarding herself. That same night, 2 days before Christmas, the story cuts back to Jude and his group. They are now inside a church, holding a priest hostage. When they examine him, they discover a strange symbol carved into his stomach. Jude then cuts the skin from the priest's abdomen and takes it with him before they kill him. The next morning, Clara wakes up as if she has just witnessed the entire murder herself. On that same day, all the other students leave for their Christmas holidays, returning home to their families. The only ones left at the school are Clara and Samantha, along with Rose. Meanwhile, Jude and his group are on the road. Inside the car, Doug grows visibly annoyed as he watches Jude and Maisie getting close in the back seat. Suddenly, he accidentally hits a deer crossing the road. They stop to check on it, but while they are dealing with the situation, a police officer arrives and starts questioning them. During the interaction, the officer notices something lying on the road. It turns out to be the piece of skin they took from the priest. Before the officer can react, Grant strikes him from behind. The officer fires his weapon in reflex, and the bullet hits Doug. Right after that, Jude grabs the officer's gun and shoots him dead. At that exact moment, Clara wakes up again, as if she has just seen everything happen. Not long after, Clara, Rose, and Samantha are preparing dinner when someone knocks on the dorm door. Rose assumes it is Jimmy, but when she opens it, she finds Jude and his group standing outside. They ask to come in, claiming one of their friends is injured and needs help. Rose refuses at first, saying she cannot let strangers inside and that she will call an ambulance for them instead. But then Maisie steps in and says she used to be a student at Blackvale. She reminds Rose of the school's values, that the girls of Blackvale are meant to look out for one another. Hearing that, Rose hesitates, then finally allows them to come inside. As the night goes on, Rose begins treating Doug's wound. At the same time, Maisie starts studying Clara more closely. She feels like Clara looks familiar and wonders if she has a relative who once attended the school. Then Doug casually brings up one of their previous murders, and that is when Samantha realizes exactly who these people are. Fear starts to set in. Rose quickly steps in and tells them they need to leave. She refuses to let strangers stay overnight in the dorm, but at that moment, their true nature finally shows. Rose grabs a pair of scissors and threatens them, telling Samantha and Clara to run and hide. Jude immediately orders Doug to go after them. Clara and Samantha rush into a classroom and try to stay quiet, but Doug soon finds them. When they are cornered, Samantha fights back, but she is completely overpowered. Doug manages to capture her. Meanwhile, Clara picks up the knife Doug dropped and tries to help, but Doug threatens to kill Samantha if she does not hand it over. In the end, Clara gives in and drops the knife. At the same time, Jimmy returns to the dorm after dropping the other students off at the train station. He notices a strange car parked outside and starts to feel suspicious. Rose sees him and tries to warn him from the window, but before she can do anything, Grant attacks Jimmy from behind. Not long after that, Jude finds Rose as well, and she is captured. Soon, all of them are tied up at the dining table. The group mockingly says a prayer before starting their meal. Jude then forces Rose to join them in a humiliating way. Fear slowly turns into anger as Rose realizes who they really are, the people behind the Christmas killer cases. Jude then frees Jimmy and pulls out a ring he found in his pocket. It becomes clear that Jimmy had planned to propose to Rose on Christmas night. Jude forces him to go through with it right there, but instead, Jimmy tries to fight back. That only leads to his death as Jude kills him on the spot. After that, Jude takes the ring and places it on Rose's finger. Not long after, Rose, Samantha, and Clara are taken into the living room. The group begins opening the Christmas presents that Rose had prepared for the girls. When they see that Samantha's gift is just a sweater, Jude forces her to change clothes in front of everyone. Strangely, Clara does not show any fear at all. Instead, she just smiles. Then the group begins preparing a ritual. They place the pieces of skin they have collected at the center of a circle drawn with the blood of their victims. As they prepare, Jude talks about his past. He grew up as the son of a preacher, surrounded by people who constantly prayed and begged for God's help. But no matter how many prayers he witnessed, he never saw a single one answered. Even so, he still believes that a higher power exists. In his mind, prayers are only answered when there is sacrifice, just like the offerings made to gods or demons. Maisie then continues the explanation. She reveals that when she was still a student at this school, she discovered a spell book hidden in the basement. That discovery eventually got her expelled. But before she left, she managed to tear out a page from the book, a page that described a ritual to summon a demon. That single page is what guided them through all the murders they have committed so far. Their real goal was always to return to the school and complete the ritual. They believe that a demon, summoned through sacrifice, will grant them anything they desire: wealth, fame, even power. To finish the ritual, they need the blade of innocent people. While they are distracted, Rose quietly uses the ring on her finger to cut through the tape binding her hands. Then, without warning, she attacks Jude. But Jude reacts quickly, overpowers her, and drags her into the center of the blood circle. As he chants the ritual, he pokes Rose directly in the heart, killing her instantly. But after all that, nothing happens. The group begins to question everything. They start wondering if the demon is even real, or if they made a mistake somewhere in the ritual. Doug even begins to think that all the killing they have done might have been for nothing. Because of that, Maisie and Jude decide to head to the basement to look for the spellbook again, hoping to find some kind of clue. Meanwhile, Clara, who has been silent the whole time, suddenly asks Doug what he actually wants from the demon. Doug admits that he has always had doubts about the ritual. Deep down, he never fully believed it would work. The only reason he went along with everything was because of Maisie. He wanted her. After that, he decides to walk around and look for a drink. Samantha mentions that there is alcohol stored in the basement, so Doug heads down there, leaving Grant behind to watch over Clara and Samantha. In the basement, Maisie finally finds the spellbook again and starts going through it, trying to understand it better. At the same time, Grant is left alone on guard duty. That is when Clara slowly approaches him and begins to influence his mind. Somehow she knows about his past, even the fact that he used to be a soldier. Then she leans closer and plants something in his mind. Whatever she says is powerful enough that it is also heard by Maisie and Jude down in the basement. After that, Clara reveals a strange symbol on her body and forces Grant to touch it. Not long after, Doug joins Maisie in the basement. As Maisie studies the book, she realizes something important is missing from the ritual. It is not just the blood of the innocent, it also requires the blood of the guilty. Back upstairs, Clara urges Samantha to leave immediately before the others come back. Samantha hesitates, refusing to leave Clara behind. But Clara insists that if she stays, she will die. Reluctantly, Samantha finally agrees and leaves. At this point, it becomes clear that Grant is no longer acting on his own. Somehow, Clara now has complete control over him. After Samantha is gone, Clara takes a jar of blood and marks Grant's forehead, telling him that death has already chosen him. Then she offers him something in return: immortality, as long as he obeys every command she gives. Down in the basement, Maisie finally realizes a fatal mistake in their ritual. As she continues reading the next page of the spellbook, she discovers the truth. The ritual they have been performing is not meant to summon a demon. It is meant to release one that has been trapped inside the school. And that demon is Clara. At the same time, Jude is wandering around the school, convinced that the demon has already risen and is somewhere nearby. When he comes across a mirror, he becomes certain that the demon has chosen him. Fully believing this, he begins hoarding himself, acting as if some kind of power is already inside him. Meanwhile, Maisie and Doug start going through an old yearbook. As Maisie flips through the pages, she notices something strange. Clara's face appears again and again, across different generations of students. That is when everything starts to make sense. The reason Clara seems so familiar is because she has always been there. Realizing the danger, Maisie urges Doug to leave immediately, but before they can escape, Jude suddenly appears and stops them. Doug tries to explain that Clara might actually be the real demon, but Jude refuses to believe it. He is convinced that he is the chosen one. The argument quickly escalates and Doug attacks Jude. Moments later, Grant shows up and throws Jude aside. But something is clearly wrong with Grant. The strange symbol on his forehead terrifies Maisie, and before she can react, Grant captures her.
Let me out of here.
Elsewhere, Samantha is running through a snowstorm until she reaches a guard post. She quickly calls the police and asks for help. They tell her to stay hidden until they arrive. But even then, Samantha cannot stop thinking about Clara. In the end, she decides to go back and try to save her. Back at the dorm, everything has changed. Jude and the others are now tied up at the dining table, all except Grant, who is now completely under Clara's control. At this point, the truth is finally revealed. Clara is the demon, the same entity responsible for the great fire Rose once talked about. She has been trapped inside this school for years, bound within Clara's body. To set herself free, she manipulated Maisie into following the instructions from that torn page. Everything the group has done was part of her plan. The ritual was never complete because it was missing one final element, the blood of the guilty, and the guilty ones are standing right in front of her. Clara intends to finish the ritual using them, but she cannot kill them directly. Instead, they must harm themselves or each other. She begins by choosing Maisie as the first offering. Under Clara's command, Grant steps forward and cuts Maisie's hair as an initial sacrifice. Next, Grant is chosen, and he wounds his own palm without hesitation. Then it is Doug's turn. As Grant approaches him, Doug tries to take control of the situation and offers his blood willingly. But instead, Grant grabs his hand and cuts off 4 of his fingers. When it is finally Jude's turn, he interrupts, demanding a reward for everything he has done. From the very beginning, his desire has always been power and recognition. But Clara reveals that his wish has already been granted. Soon his name will be known everywhere, written across newspapers, remembered for generations, but only because of his death. After that, Clara orders Grant to take one of Jude's ears. At that exact moment, Samantha returns to the dorm and begins to uncover the marked photos of Clara that Maisie had found earlier. The scene shifts back to the Keelers. Clara now orders Grant to finish off Doug and Jude. When Grant turns toward Maisie, she quickly tries to talk him out of it, urging him to leave with her and escape this place together. But Clara pushes him to stay focused, reminding him that immortality is within reach if he completes what he started. Overwhelmed and confused by the voices in his head, Grant loses control. Instead of following orders, he turns the blade on himself and ends his own life. Now only Maisie is left. At that moment, Samantha suddenly rushes in, holding an axe. She is shocked by what she sees and believes she has come back to save Clara. The moment she arrives, Maisie's restraints loosen, and she immediately takes the chance to run. Clara does not hesitate and goes after her. Samantha tries to stop Clara, but Clara is furious. She has waited for this moment for so long, and the ritual was so close to being completed. Samantha had been told to leave, yet she came back and disrupted everything. Samantha cannot bring herself to abandon Clara. She truly believes Clara is in danger and insists she could not leave her behind. That is when Clara finally reveals her true nature. She has been trapped in this place for years, forced to endure endless cycles of boredom and waiting. Still, Samantha stands by her. She insists that her feelings are genuine, that she truly cares about Clara. Surprisingly, those words begin to calm her. For the first time, Clara softens. She tells Samantha that if she really cares, then she should let her be free. Then, as everything comes down to the final moment, Samantha makes her choice. Without warning, she turns toward Maisie and strikes her from behind with the axe. With Maisie's death, the ritual is finally complete. At last, Clara is free from the place that has held her for so long. Outside, Samantha asks what Clara plans to do next, whether she will leave this place behind. Clara gives her an offer instead, asking if she wants to come along. And just like that, Samantha chooses to follow her. That is where the story ends. So the moral of the story is never trust a quiet girl with trauma. She might be a demon just waiting for you to finish her to-do list.